was so good. It was without a doubt my first 5-star of the year. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. So we are going to talk about every book that I read in the month of March. My book count was actually similar to last month, which tells me I might be finding my average. Quickly, before we dive in though, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. My goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers this year. So I would so appreciate your support, and if you just click that little button below. So this past month, I read a combination of physical books as well as audiobooks. Pretty standard for me. But my first book that I read and finished in March was A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. It's about these children who seek to find their father. He is lost, they don't think he's dead, and they essentially, with the help of these like incredible beings, go basically to the stars and back to planets far, far away to find him. And it is so good. This book was so good. I can't believe I didn't read it sooner. I don't know what I've been doing all this time. I want to read all of them. In fact, I have the second one here. I'm planning to read it this month. Spoiler alert for my April TBR. Anyway, that was my first book. The second book that I read this March was Educated by Tara Westover. I listened to this as an audiobook, and whoa, she had a crazy life, that is for sure. And what's most incredible about it is that it is a true story about a real woman who grew up in this like insane fundamentalist, niche religious, Mormon, backwoods, unsafe upbringing, and then ends up getting a PhD in a very roundabout way. Like, she didn't even attend school growing up. If you're wanting a memoir that is just like kind of wild in terms of someone's personal story, and just like, you kind of have to listen to it for yourself or read it, whichever you prefer. The third book that I read in March was Paris Letters by Janice Mcleod. I don't know if I'm saying her name right, which again is like the case with every author that I try to pronounce the name of, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was about her leaving her corporate job in LA and then moving to Paris through a variety of decisions. And what's interesting about it is she starts the book by talking about how she like whittles down all of her possessions so that she can eventually sell everything and save up enough money to go on this, what she thought was going to be her European adventure, but then became her like life in Paris. What made this extra cool to me was that the author reached out to me when I shared my TBR last month, and we chatted a little bit, and she subscribed to my channel. So hi Janice, if you're watching, but it was just like really cool to me and very special that she reached out to chat. If you're wanting a sweet travel memoir that has a nice little love story woven into it, I highly recommend it. Also, she's an artist, so that's a super cool thing, and you get to see her art throughout the book. The fourth book I read in March was The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Bully. This is a novel. It is fictional, and it features Indigenous peoples for like most of the characters in the entire book, and it was just really cool. She incorporates her actual hometown, the author's hometown. She talks about Indigenous peoples at length, talks about the rituals and their ceremonies. She talks about the injustices against Indigenous people, specifically against women, how many people in the reservations are left to kind of fend for themselves, even on a legal standpoint. What I loved about it is that, yes, it's a really good story. It's kind of like a mystery thriller, sort of, but it also is a tool that the author used to teach people about Indigenous cultures. Thank you so much for teaching me about this culture that is in my country, that is all around me, but I know very little about. I really recommend it. It is a YA novel, so if you are a high schooler and looking for a good read, I definitely suggest it. It's pretty girthy. It's, I think, around 500 pages or so, I can't really remember, but worth every page. The fifth book I read was Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. This sounds like a pretty witchy book, and I thought it was. I mean, it had spells in the title, you would think, but actually it's about a kind of witchy-centric island where there is a mystery unfolding, and you kind of go through the lives of the individuals on this island and figure out what happened with this situation in their town a long time ago, and the truth behind it all. If you're wanting something that's set in the Pacific Northwest that talks a lot about the sea and little shops and is also kind of stressful in a thriller way, then I totally recommend it. It was a really nice read as far as I was concerned. Book number 6, Becoming by Michelle Obama. How have I not read or listened to this sooner? It is so good. It was without a doubt my first 5-star of the year. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. She's talking about where she came from and her upbringing, rightly so, it's her memoir, but then she talks about meeting Barack Obama and how they fell in love, and then his pretty unsuspecting journey to the presidency, the entire presidency and her experience being a first lady, and then him ending his presidency, and then what that looked like for her moving forward. It's fascinating. You get to peek inside of this world that none of us know about. We don't get to experience. A very few amount of people will experience being in the White House, living in the White House. It was somehow educational at the same time. It was so deeply inspiring, and I have nothing else to say. I underestimated it because to me, I looked at it like a celebrity memoir. And it was so much more than that. My 7th book of the month was I Guess I Haven't Learned That Yet by Shauna Niequist. In true Shauna Niequist style, she just talks about life in short stories, and they're somehow very specific but also very relatable. And I completely appreciated her honesty throughout the whole process. The cool thing about the audiobook is that at the very end, she gives you a very intense 3-day travel plan for New York City. And she tells you all the places to go, all the places to eat, all the places to get coffee, all the things to see, whether or not you're with children. And guys, I got tired just listening to it, but I also got very hungry because Shauna Niequist is a big time foodie. She talks about food throughout her entire book, and can she cool it? Because I need to go eat something delicious now in New York City, and I have no plans to go there, except now I definitely do. Thanks for nothing, Shauna. My 8th and final book of March was Heartberries and Memoir by Therese Marie Malhut. I know I did not say that right. It was a 4-hour audiobook. It was really fast. In full transparency, I chose it randomly because I liked the cover and I liked the title, and I wanted to get another book in before the end of the month. So now you know how I function. So this was a book about an Indigenous woman. It was actually kind of hard to listen to. It was a lot about mental illness. It was about her struggles, not just being an Indigenous woman, but just living and how trauma had affected her life. It was heavy, and I don't think I would listen to it again or read it again. But I respect that she chose to put down her story, to be so vulnerable as to share about all of the trials that she's had in her life, because I don't know that I could do that, but I respect her for what she did. So, and you guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to share them below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up so I know you like my book videos. And now I'm gonna go, okay? Bye.